USA International Speedway, known in the 90s and early 2000s for some nail-biting late model racing, now sits dormant in real life. It has been turned into a PepsiCo and Amazon distribution center, but in iRacing it is preserved for all of history, for all of us to run on and get laps in and run some great Legends racing like we're going to have tonight. Welcome to Pit Stop TV for round number 7 of the HFL Legends Series. Andrew Cardinale IV with Zach Murtis alongside. And Zach, USA, I think everybody that has come through the rookie ranks, really any of the license classes in oval racing at some point, has had quite a few experiences with this place. I don't think anybody can avoid it if you run any kind of oval racing on the sim.
Whether it be a street stock, a legend car, just any kind of rookie class car that you can get your hands on, even the D class cars too, like the late model stock cars that are soon to be released this next coming week. You've had your hands on top of USA International Speedway, and what a great track to run, honestly. Long straightaways, tight turns. It's a little bit like a combination of Martinsville and Bristol. You've got high banks in the corners, and you've got long straightaways just like Martinsville does. Obviously, a bit of a longer pit road section as well. A great track to really just try to dive into, especially when it comes to legend car racing.
The Legends lap time of record is a 23:258 set by Blaze Crawford. These guys are turning 23 6s and 7s at the top of the board tonight in practice. So we will be a little ways off of that time, but that is to be expected on a fixed setup as opposed to open. Matthew Boniface has won the last few weeks and continues to control this series. Let's take a look at the standings coming into this evening. He is up now by 47 over Brandon Herzing, a perfect 100 for Matthew last week, and that total just keeps growing and growing. Over Timmy Martin by 83, over Eric Sellers by 90. He's got 5th place, Jesse Fox by 130 points, and it goes all the way down to Amy Mason back in 20th by 453 points. And I should actually specify, so in the session tonight, of course, we see Fish every week, but Riley, the name that is just simply Riley, is going to be Amy Mason. Kind of interesting. I think that name will be fixed next week, so Brandon, if you guys are out there listening, it does just say Riley, so that's who that is anyways. But Zach, 30 laps of racing when we get to the feature race here tonight. Of course, we're our 2 10-lap heats. It's a nice, good day for racing. Absolutely, and I mean, still building off of it, it's such a great place to go racing. And legend cars, if anybody watched broadcast from last night when we did Painbuilt Legends Stafford, this is another relatable track to being a bit like a super speedway for legend cars. There's a lot of high speed areas. You got to make sure you're counting with the roll speed, and obviously with track conditions today, 110 degrees track temp. It's going to be a little bit slick. It's going to be just on the looser side, so you got to make sure you're modulating that throttle properly and being able to roll these cars through the center and just be able to carry as much speed as humanly possible. Practice is on track currently, and Matthew Boniface is fastest in his signature red number 95. Brandon Herzing so far second in the session in the number 96. Timmy Martin in third. And it just kind of goes on down the list. Maverick Davis has been great lately, but a little slow in this practice session compared to where we usually see him. Usually, I would expect Maverick Davis to be at least top 3, if not top 2, out of these last few weeks. I'm actually kind of surprised that Herzing is in the second spot over the 113 of Davis. Herschel Lawrence is here today. Jesse Fox, John Barry, Dave Holmberg. You got Fish, Kirk Schweizer, the usual cast of characters here for round 7. And I say that, and well, Maverick Davis goes to second on the board. He must have been listening.
Yeah, I think that was a little bit of a shot in the keister there, don't you think, Andrew?
You could potentially put it that way. Big thank you to our partners, by the way, with the HFL Legends Series, Admin Box, and Soundlington Tool Manufacturing. And a big thank you to our partners here at the channel at Pit Stop TV, Whiplash Media, SimCams, SimRap Market, and Short Track Weekly. And Maverick Davis is likely out there in the chat somewhere listening to us, and will probably chime in at some point. Nashville was last week. It's interesting. 2 big racetracks in a row. Nashville Fairgrounds last week. Tonight we're at USA. An interesting set of a couple of races. Let's go out for qualifying. Douglas Fisher on track first. Mike Matherly, Maverick Davis joining him. Let's ride on board actually with Maverick Davis. This will be one of the better lap times of the night. So So straight out of the pit lane, Zach, here, what are you seeing?
I am seeing just rolling through the gears, scrubbing the tires, trying to get up to speed. You see that wide entry into the corner. You're trying to build up as much speed as possible, and then you pop it up into 5th gear. You hit that start-finish line. You're going to take that wide arc going down into turn 1. You can see how big of an arc just off the racing line a little bit. I might have overshot it just a bit, trying to run that outside line down the backstretch. You got Fish going to the top of the board with a 24-1. And then just rolling into turn 3, you can take a bit of a wider entry. Looks like he's just setting up for that next lap, making this just pretty much a ditch lap and trying to set back up for the next one. Down the straightaway we go, going into turn 1. A lot better on the entry, hitting that yellow line, rolling it all the way through the center. He's about 7/10 off of the pole. Watching all these guys go through, it's just so fun to watch these Legend cars go.
Maverick Davis down to the inside of 3 and 4. Let's see what he can do here to the start-finish line. Car 113 going to go any higher on the board. Oh, he's going to go well north of where he was at, and that is going to be pole so far. Purple lap time there to Maverick Davis by nearly 0.3 of a second. And then here comes Brandon Herzing quickly to 2nd spot. He moves well up the order as well. Jesse Fox getting his time in. He goes 4th. Now on the track, Matthew Boniface, he had to scratch lap 1.
About to say, we were just waiting for Boniface to be able to take his lap, and I'm looking for him to go to the pole position here.
Across the line, Boniface, he's a bit south of P1. He is not going to go to pole tonight. 2nd quick, just getting faster than Brandon Herzing there at the line. Mike Matherly, Eric Sellers, Dave Holmberg all on track. Here's a look at Holmberg in the 63 and Sellers in the 97. He might have something here to end his run. And Sellers across the line will go P8 of 10 so far. Timmy Martin moves up to 4th quicker than Fish. And Holmberg, first time, it's, 8th quick ahead of Eric Sellers. So the 97 of Sellers struggling tonight.
You can see how close just the drivers inside the top 5 are. Obviously, all of them just a little bit off, but they are still just so close together going through the rest of the field. And Holmberg here coming across the line. I think he just did come off the board there.
He's a bit quicker, runs up to a 24.058 and moves ahead to 7th spot over Herschel Lawrence. That leaves Mike Matherly, the only car on track, but he has wrapped up his run, and it looks like he is done for the night. Riley Mason took a couple of laps. Both of them were dirty. Kirk Schweizer and Dakota Brau are both in the pit lane, and it looks like not going to join us for this qualifying session. So, Zach, just like that, I think we know who's starting where, at least for the heat races. And we've seen, 4-car inverts that should move Maverick Davis back to the 4th place starting spot in Heat 1, and same for Boniface in Heat 2. They've got some work to do.
I don't think they're going to have too much work on their hands, Andrew. They've shown already that they have a lot of good pace, and they can make things happen regardless of where they're starting. We obviously saw that the last few weeks, and it's just so really easy for them to be able to do something with what they got.
A 3-car invert, rather, so that'll put Maverick Davis starting from 3rd spot, Boniface from 3rd as well. Herzing and Martin, they will start from 2nd. That means Fish and Fox will start from pole in their heat races, and Holmberg and Lawrence will not be beneficiaries of the invert for our heat races this evening. Now, I do, as far as Legends directly, I guess as a whole, in general, is what I was looking for. Legends in general. Of course, we cover Legends racing on Monday nights, thanks to Pain Built Legends, and I just want to talk about, of course, that week of racing happening currently. These were the standings headed into last night. And now, they have changed, of course. Last night's race won by Joel Smith, who was 4th in points. Massengill actually was in the booth with us for that one at Stafford. But if you are in Legends Racing at all, which obviously if you guys are watching as a driver, you are at least in some way in Legends Racing on the sim, pay attention to these standings this last week. We'll have some updates on Pit Stop TV's social media pages as far as who is where in the championship and who ends up winning this thing. It should be Retzlaff, but Daniel Folds could put 1 week together that maybe is enough to get up to Retzlaff. I don't know how the drops work exactly, where everybody's at with all of that, but it's worth paying attention to, of course, with our own points here. It's, I think, equally in the hands of Matthew Boniface right now. He has just been stellar all season long.
Don't count out Brandon Herzing yet. He is still in that hunt. He's going to be able to try and do something tonight as we're actually getting ready to stage up here for Heat 1.
cars on track and fired up. Let's meet our starting grid for heat number 1. Fish on pole in car 16. Brennan Herzing will start from second. Maverick Davis, Dave Holmberg, that's row number 2. Eric Sellers and Douglas Fisher from 5th and 6th. Kirk Schweizer and Riley Mason will round out our 8-car starting grid for heat number 1. Weather conditions in this race, well, they have not changed, of course, but let's talk about this, Zach. I think these tires are going to get pretty glazy pretty quick.
Yeah, but with the Legend car, you can still throw this thing around, even if the tire temps are still really hot. And you can just do a lot when it comes to this car. You can just put it where you want it to try and be able to get a good run off the corner, or actually try to get a good entry into the corner. Roll speed, like I've said already, is a very big thing with these cars. Just keep that roll speed up, keep the RPMs up, and you'll be able to get those runs down the straightaway to be able to contend.
Make sure to check out Pit Stop TV on social media and all of the links down below. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. We do broadcast to Twitch with the same username as we have on Instagram. Waiting on cars to roll away from the grid. All 8 have gridded up now. And let's take a look at the view from Riley Mason's perspective as he fires off from the line here to pace around for a couple of laps. Zach, this is always, we talk about it. It's a daunting feeling, starting from the very back of the field. Granted, this is only the heat race. It's not a feature, but if Riley wants to start anywhere ahead of dead last, he's got to get a move on quick.
Even just one position is going to be able to vault you forward when it comes to heat races. It's the way everything is affected by how these things roll out. And starting from the back isn't always really a bad thing. You're able to see everything going on in front of you. You'll be able to miss the wrecks if something happens. Hopefully you'll be able to check up in time and just be able to maybe count on something going your way and getting a little lucky.
Out of turn number 4, we get the 1 to go signal from the flag stand. We'll be starting the race the next time by the start-finish line. Fish and Herzing, the front row, I think is rather interesting, Zach. It'll be interesting to see how these guys work down to the first corner. I think Fish should probably get a pretty good launch, but I gotta say, I think the 96 is going to be a bit faster than the 16 this evening. And honestly, again, watch Maverick Davis, pole sitter in qualifying. He has been quick lately and is turning out the proverbial wick. So 10 laps for heat number 1 on the biggest track of the season, 3/4 miles in length. That is not a short racetrack by any means. Here we go. From the virtual Lakeland, Florida, heat number 1 on tap for the HFL Legends Series. And up out of turn number 4, the AtRacing.com pace car leaves us to it. Green flag flies. Fish leads us to the green. And straight out of the gate, Brandon Herzing to the point. Down to turn 3, it's all Fish and Maverick Davis for second. Fish up the racetrack, and he's going to give that spot up to the number 113 car. Maverick Davis on through to second.
But Brandon Herzig, look at him. He has jumped out to almost half a second lead. I just think Fish was not necessarily maybe in the right gear or something on the start, as he is now quickly dropping back into the 4th position. He might lose 4th to Holmberg right here in the 63.
Fish headed back really quickly, now back to 5th position with 2 laps complete. Maverick Davis, on the other hand, you can see the gap ahead and the gap behind as they battle for the second spot now. Make it first as Herzing has some company. And this is a really interesting graphic. This is one that we actually haven't used in a couple of years. It's been updated recently, so you can see the timing there at the bottom. So it's plus 1/10 and some change to Brandon Herzing from Maverick Davis. Meanwhile, it is nearly 7/10 from Maverick Davis back to Eric Sellers as we have a move for the lead spot.
And Herzing just washed up the racetrack a little too much coming off of turn 2, and he opened the door there for Maverick Davis to take that lead away. And he's going to clear Herzing to lead this lap with, oh, he got a little loose coming out of turn 4.
This is far from over, but Brandon Herzing plays nice down to turn 1. I think he had an opening there, ended up not taking it. That leaves Maverick Davis to try and run away here with 6 laps to go. You can see the battle for 3rd spot behind him, but here we go, side by side once again down to turn number 3. Herzing's not done.
He was able to just sit back, learn a little from what Maverick Davis is doing. He's adapting that to what he needs to do now. Still side by side going into turn 1. And, oh, they are so close together.
Neither driver wanting to give an inch. Of course, they have to. can't run into each other, but really clean racing between these two so far. Holmberg goes on through to third. Fish in the fourth spot. Eric Sellers in fifth. Holmberg up the racetrack, and here comes an opening for Fish.
He's going to stick his right front tire right there. They're going to be side by side going into turn one, and I believe Fish is going to clear as Sellers is still trying to make the move on Holmberg as well. They are side by side for the fifth position, or the fourth position, excuse me.
Holmberg falling back, loses another spot now to Eric Sellers as everybody kind of finds their own new position. Here comes Sellers, working the top side now of Fish into turn one.
And Herzing just went purple there as he's still trying to hunt down Maverick Davis in this fight for third. As he
Whoa, Fish! Into the wall on his
contact.
own, and that is not going to bring out a yellow as we don't have yellows for heat races. Now Sellers and Holmberg side by side once again into turn number 4. Sellers up the top, Holmberg down low, Fish all the way back now in 8th spot. And he's going to be starting from the back row of our feature race. 2 laps to go. This the battle for third.
And that was just unfortunate for Fish, having such a good run as Holmberg is going to go down into turn 3 and still side by side, but I believe he will clear Sellers coming off fourth. We got the white flag in the air presented by Whiplash and Cams.
1 lap to go. And that was the fastest so far for Maverick Davis, a 23.661, as he puts the heat on Brandon Herzing and starts to pull away. Trouble for Holmberg. He spins out of turn number 2, and Maverick Davis will exit turn 4 and win another heat race, putting himself on pole this evening for our feature at USA International Speedway. The rest of the field comes on across the line. It's Davis, Herzing, Sellers, Schweizer, Riley Mason, then Holmberg, Fisher, and Fish. Your running order here in heat number 1. That's one way to get things done for the first heat of the night. We've got heat 2 then on deck. And it looks like Jesse Fox will lead us to the green for this one from car number 20. Let's take a look at our full starting order. On pole, Jesse Fox. On the outside, it'll be Timmy P. Martin in the number 13 car. Starting from third, it's Matthew Boniface in car 95. Herschel Lawrence from the 4th spot. John Barry from 5th. And Dakota Bro, it looks like, not starting tonight's event. That means Mike Matherly will assume the 6th position when they take the green flag.
Any way you can get a position, you might as well take it. I see no problem with gaining a spot on the green flag and not having to worry about starting, well, dead last at the start of this race.
Well, 1 race in, Zach. Well, 1 heat race anyways. What do you expect here for our 10-lap heat race number 2?
I expect to see Boniface go from 3rd to 1st. Like we saw in the first heat, our 2 front row sitters from qualifying have always been able to put on a good show, especially since they're the top 2 in the points. And, well, I see Boniface has just been winning everything this season, so expect him just to be able to run from 3rd to 1st in this heat race.
5 wins in 6 races. The only race he hasn't won this season was Lanier Dirt back on February 7th. So Jesse Fox, Timmy Martin in the front row. It's Boniface and Lawrence, row number 2. And I got to be honest, Zach, the longer pace laps here is 3/4 of a mile, man. It throws me off. We've still got the whole backstretch in turns 3 and 4. What can these drivers do with that extra length? We talk about drafting sometimes in legend cars. It doesn't seem like it'd be relevant, but here it is.
Well, it's just a little bit more time to scrub the tires, get some heat in them, so that way you're not spinning out loose going into turn 1 and, just ending up in the back. Since there's no caution, you wouldn't be able to regain it. But, going green here, we're going to see a lot of good moves going into turn 1.
Out of turn 4, ready to go for heat race number 2. Green flag in the air, and Jesse Fox will lead us to turn 1. What a move. Matthew Boniface taking the lead away. Lap 1, turn 1 and 2. And he is already opening up a gap out front. Car 95 straight to the point. The seas parted for him. Timmy Martin had a great start. Got off and away to a lead. Jesse Fox just ran up the racetrack and opened the door for the 95.
Yeah, you can't leave that bottom line open, especially when it comes to short track racing. That bottom is always going to be the preferred line on a lot of these short tracks. And you leave it open even just a sliver, that car behind you is going to find a way to get through there. And obviously Boniface is able to get and take that lead away. And he is walked out to almost a second. Actually, a full second as we go to 8 to go.
2 laps complete. Boniface has a second on the field. Boy, that happened quick. Martin and Fox, second and third. And we might have ourselves a proper little battle between these two. We've had the gearbox camera out there, the rear bumper cam for the 13 of Martin. Now we shift over to the roof cam from the 20 of Jesse Fox. And he's starting to get a run.
He's taking a little look going down the straightaway. Obviously not close enough to actually make that move yet. But even just letting the car in front of you know that you're looking is enough to just get in their head and say, hey, I'm going to pass you. And you're probably not going to like it when I do.
John Barry, teammate to the 13 car of Martin, sits right behind Fox in the 4th spot. Mike Matherly sitting back in 6th, no contest yet. Boniface already faster than Maverick Davis. That's a 23.640. The fastest lap of record in Heat 1 was a 23.661.
And Boniface has actually turned a purple lap almost every single lap so far in this heat. He just seems to be getting faster and faster.
Which isn't super surprising as the tires come with the temp. They do gain a little bit of grip, and once again, faster there by 4/1000ths of a second to a 23.636. He's just picking up more and more time as he walks away from these guys. Nearly 1.8 seconds already in the front 5 laps.
And you're just really left focused on the battle for second, third, and fourth as Boniface is just gone.
Down to turn 1, just watching these middle 4 of the field. Martin, Fox, Barry, and Lawrence as Boniface has walked away now 2 seconds with 4 laps to go. Call it 3 this time. Here comes Fox to the inside.
Finally taking that big peek, and Martin is going to leave that space. Fox was not there completely, but the space was left, so he went in and poked his nose, and they're going to be side by side going down into turn 1, but I believe 20 is going to clear for that second place position.
And now the Salington Tool Manufacturing 13 slides into 3rd spot. His teammate right behind. So 3rd and 4th for the 13 and 14. What can they do here with Jesse Fox to get that spot back away and better their starting positions? Or do they want to sit back right here and conveniently line themselves up to start 6th and 8th potentially and save tires early in the race? It's an interesting question. It could be a strategy, but it looks like here comes Martin again, wanting to take a look to the inside.
It might just be the safer strategy just to kind of sit back and let your car do its thing, save those tires, do whatever you can. You've got 1 lap to go, and yeah, I mean, it's just about time to kind of hold back a little bit.
White flag out, 1 lap to go. We're presented by Whiplash Media Sim Cams. Fox opens the door just briefly, looking a lot like lap 1 there. The 13 not able to fill it, though, and Matthew Boniface down to turn 3. Well, here we go, actually. Martin to the inside. He's going to force it side by side and drag race out of the corner, but Boniface wins the heat for the millionth time this season. And at the line, I think it's Martin. No, Fox. Yes, there we go. Martin got him. It had to adjust there, but Martin did get him for the 2nd spot there in heat number 2. Right down to the last second there, Zach. That's how we like to see it.
And not only did we have a close finish for 2nd, we had a close finish for the 4th place position, too. It was passing all over the racetrack.
Photo finishes there at the end of heat number 2. We'll do it for heat racing. We've got a 30-lap feature coming up. Don't miss it here on Pitstop TV. It's the HFL Legend Series, brought to you by Admin Box in Salington Tool and Manufacturing. Welcome back to the virtual USA International Speedway, located in the virtual Lakeland, Florida. I've been down this way a couple of times. Went to Auburndale Speedway for Winter Nationals a few years ago for the US Legends cars, and you know, I didn't get the chance to go to Lakeland. Admittedly, I didn't get the chance to go to USA International Speedway anyways, or at least what is left of it. But that area, man, it really could use a racetrack like this back in its clutches. I know Auburndale isn't too far away, but it really would be cool to see USA back on the map. Unfortunately, never going to happen, but hey, we have it in iRacing, which is almost good enough as we get ready to go racing for 30 laps here at USA. Zach, I'll put you on the spot real quick before we go through the grid tonight. What's your favorite series, I guess, to run here? Favorite car to run here at USA?
That's a tricky one. That's actually a little tricky because there are a lot of great cars I like to run here. I like to run the street stock here. I do like to run the late models here, both the Super and the Monte Carlo SS, soon to become the late model stock car. Even though it kind of drives like one anyway, but in my honest opinion, I really do like the Super late model. I love how it handles. I just love being able to drive it down into the corner, let it roll, and then just hammer that throttle coming up off. And it's just such an enjoyable racetrack to be able to use it on. But the Legend cars here are also really enjoyable as well.
It's the field of 15 cars. Looks like ready to go. Dakota Blow has not gotten on the racetrack yet, so maybe he won't be joining us. But let's go through our starting grid of 15 anyways. And on pole, Maverick Davis in car 113, Matthew Boniface. They each won their heat races. They start on our front row. Starting third, it's Brandon Herzig in the 96. Timmy Martin joins us from fourth. And fifth place starting position, it's Eric Sellers alongside Jesse Fox. Starting from the inside of row number 4, Kirk Schweizer in car 65. John Berry starts from 8th. To round out your top 10, it's Riley Mason and Herschel Lawrence. Starting from 11th and 12th, you've got Dave Holmberg and Mike Matherly just ahead of Douglas Fisher. And it looks like Fish will be starting from the 14th spot this evening. So 14 cars ready to go. Quickly out of turn number 4, we're going to turn them loose for 30 laps of racing. Green flag is out at USA. A battle for the top spot down to turn 1. Matthew Boniface on the inside of the 113 of Maverick Davis. One lap complete, one car flipping. It is Riley Mason and Fish in the back. And already we are stopped and under caution.
And Boniface is probably punching the air right now. He was about to take the lead away, but now he has to settle for second as we take a look at the replay.
This happened right in front of our turn 3 camera down... Well, in turn 3, watch this. The 51 of Riley Mason, well, actually, well ahead of the 16 of Fish, just spins and wow. Wow.
Absolutely nowhere to go there. He was already committed to the line, and obviously just spinning around on the bottom like that can send the car up the racetrack just a little bit, especially if you don't lock the brakes too well. And it just, well, you've all seen what happens here is, take a look at the onboard from Fish. Yeah, he just goes up the racetrack like everybody else and probably just couldn't see anything with the car in front of him.
He chose the wrong line and committed 100%. That was a really, really big hit. We'll watch one more angle of this. That is a really, really big hit. We'll watch this from Douglas Fisher's perspective on the opening lap.
He was right behind Fish when it happened. You can see the 51 up there just getting loose. And then everyone goes high, and Fisher, I believe, yeah, he actually hit the wall on the right side a little bit, but not as much damage as Fish might have.
Yeah, both 33 and 51 straight to the safety of pit lane to try and take repairs, and it looks like they've both done that and taken their fast repair for this race. So 20 some odd laps now with no fast repair for the 33 and 15. That's going to be difficult, but hey, fastest lap there for Fish, so blessing in disguise.
Might not last too much longer as we get ready to go back green, but at least you got a clean car. You're going to be able to continue the rest of the race. Hopefully you can avoid too many shenanigans going on, and I believe we're going to get the 1 to green next time by.
There you see the 113 and 95 go back to linear dirt, and these two, well, I don't think they were too happy with one another. I think more so, Maverick Davis wasn't too happy with the racing that he got from his fellow driver and Matthew Boniface, and this is just going off of Discord chat, not anything official, and they were close racing. They made a little bit of contact. I think each way, both drivers made probably equal contact, but Boniface came out on the better side of it. Davis, unfortunately, came out a few spots shy on that last run of the checkers, and, well, now we get to watch them battle it out every single race of the rest of the season. We've got USA this evening, Lime Rock Park next week for our single road course of the season, then Lucas Oil Raceway, on March 14th, and then a to-be-determined driver vote round for round number 10. Waiting on the green flag here, it is out, and we are back racing at USA, 25 laps to go. One car way down the racetrack, it's Schweizer in the 65, blocking Herschel Lawrence to the inside, and on the inside of John Barry. Lap 6 complete of 30.
And there's still some tight racing going up at the front. Davis has cleared Boniface and goes purple, as the top three are just only separated by about a couple of tenths, and it's just a little bit further back to fourth place Sellers. And Boniface is taking a look up that inside line, but Davis is going to block it and keep that lead going in the next lap.
Let's ride on board here with Matthew Boniface. Tries to set up for a run here out of turn 4. He's been faster tonight, and he will take the momentum to the inside of turn 1. You can see Maverick Davis doesn't want to give him that spot, but ultimately has to. Side by side down the back straightaway on lap 8.
And Herzing went purple that last time by. He's just sitting there waiting for something that possibly happened, and he'll be able to pounce and take some spots away, but Boniface is committed to that bottom line, and it looks like he's going to clear coming off turn 4. But Davis taking that look down on the inside, and Boniface is going to throw the block going into turn 1.
Boniface covered it up. I wonder if maybe Maverick Davis gets frustrated by that. Loose, catches the apron, does the 113 out of turn number 2. I guess we don't have to be worried about him being a little annoyed, as a caution will fly. Dave Holmberg was really good in his heat race. Ends up spun around here out of turn number 2 on lap 8.
Definitely a little peculiar seeing the speed that he had early on.
It was lap 9, rather, for the 63. We had a few laps there of green flag racing. And here's a replay. Oh, wow, he was on the apron in turn 1, and that just set off a chain of events that was not ideal.
Lucky for him, though, no damage. Not really anything he has to worry his head about. He'll just go to the back of the field. I don't believe we get tire sets, so he may have to deal with those tires for a little bit while longer, but at least the car's clean. He can still try to do something with it.
Yeah, I was going to mention no damage to the car, but damage to the tires. I don't know if he just got on the brakes too much, turned in too much, or what happened there, but onto the apron, comes back down, spins through the grass, and that is that for the 63 car.
You can see those front tires catch on the grass there, which really kicked the rear end around, and I think he just rolled off the gas too much, or maybe he tapped the brakes. You don't really have to tap the brakes too much at these cars at this track, and it just looked like that's what happened, and ultimately it's going to suffer with his tires throughout the remainder of the race.
Let's revisit these standings, Zach. Matthew Boniface on top, and I really feel like from lap 1 of race 1, I guess from victory lane of race 1, just seeing how badly Matthew Boniface wanted these wins from the get-go, got these wins, and how badly he's been beating this field this season. He's been so much faster in practice, so much faster in qualifying, and obviously that's translated into the race. Yes, he's had some racing to do, but some of these races, man, he walks out to 5-6 second leads sometimes, and it's just always felt like his season to win the title. 47 points with 4 races to go coming into this evening, and he will have a large influence as to where these guys race for the finale. I mean, he gets 20% of the vote of the top 5 drivers of Boniface. Currently, Boniface, Herzing, Martin, Sellers, and Fox. And it's almost locked that Boniface and Herzing will be 2 of those drivers that get to vote. I think maybe you could lock in Sellers and Martin, and then really the battle is between Fox and Berry as far as, and Fisher, actually, as far as choosing where these guys race in round 10. But a lot of work to do for guys like Maverick Davis, Kirk Schweizer, Donald Fish, who just don't have a win yet this season and need some top 5s.
And Maverick Davis has been a top contender to be able to take wins away from Boniface, and Herzing is just sitting back there in the 3rd position, just trying to wait on, see if anything's going to happen. And I think something will happen because we saw in the heat races that the outside line gets going really well. So I expect Maverick Davis to actually be hanging with Boniface on this restart and may take the lead away from him again.
We'll see what these guys can do here for the green flag in just a couple of moments to get back racing at USA International Speedway. Out of turn 4 and into the Geico restart zone. Green flag is back out, lap 14. Whoa, contact and a Boniface up the racetrack. I think there was contact. We'll have to check.
That's what I was talking about, that outside line. Davis might have fell in line, used the bump and run, and was able to get that lead away. And that's going to put Herzing to the 2nd place position. And Boniface is just trying to defend, going back to the inside to take the 2nd spot away.
Now, once the 95 gets clear here, we'll review and see if there was contact at a turn 2. I might have jumped the gun. Oh, it was... I think the 95 might have run the 96 at the racetrack a tad there at a turn 2. Again, that would be hard to say. The camera angle didn't give us much, but, well, 1 car around, Herschel Lawrence, that gives us the caution we need. I guess, well, at least to review. We didn't need the caution necessarily for the race, but to review things we sure did, as Boniface went purple there, 23-7-19.
Oh, boy.
Well, back to the restart. Let's see what happened here between the 95 and the 13. This is on board with Matthew Boniface. And quickly, Davis slides in behind him. Was there any contact here? No, Matthew just got loose. I'm glad we checked.
That was still right place, right time for Davis. He was able to put that car down on the bottom and just be able to have that run to take it away from Boniface should there be a mistake. And watching it now going back into turn 1, you can see Boniface taking that look up the inside of Brandon Herzing. And looks like Boniface was well clear, and there wasn't really too much wall contact. Just they got really close coming off of turn 2.
Yeah, I think Herzing just wanted to stay on the gas as much as he could, and well, there's the spin then for Herschel Lawrence behind these guys, and he nearly got clobbered by 3 or 4 cars. The way those guys, the way their cars reacted to certain things on that restart, it really seemed like there was contact. There was no contact, not even netcode in any of that, which is a good thing. And, oh, wow, Herschel Lawrence caught the entrance of the racetrack there into turn 3.
Yeah, that's the one trick that you can do here at USA. You can swing a little wide where that track entrance opening is, and you can take a better arc going into 3 to set up your lap. But if you hit it wrong, obviously you can see what happens there. It just catches you out by surprise, and, well, it doesn't exactly end well for you. There's the contact right there, and it just offsets the car, and there he goes spinning back up onto the racetrack. But good catch, though, able to keep that car rolling.
I don't think he was even trying to use that bit of racetrack even. I think he just kind of found himself there by mistake and ended up in the outside wall. 12 laps to go when we take the green flag here. Davis back in control in round 7 at USA. Green flag, Matthew Boniface on the outside. Side by side through turns 1 and 2. Davis will have the advantage. Side by side for third, Herzing and Sellers.
They're looking to get just a little bit single filed out. Still 2 by 2 for the next positions on back. Third still being fought for, and 4th and 5th still being fought for as well.
Nose to tail for the race lead. Meanwhile, these guys make their pass. Herzing goes by Sellers, and here we go. This is the fight I'm really excited for now. 10 laps to go this next time by the stripe, and these two get to decide who wins the 7th round of the HFL Legends Series, season number 3 for HFL, and here comes the 95.
And you can just see where Boniface is carrying all that speed. He's taking a better arc into the corners than Davis is, and he's just opening up those entries to be able to get that good run, but Maverick Davis powering on the outside line.
Yeah, Davis now on the outside is able to use the top side speed, but that time, I think Boniface was still better. He is just rolling this car so much more beautifully and so much more efficiently through the corner. Gets the power down even before Maverick Davis, and you can see there, it pays off for the 95. Is it free, though? And, oh, Davis took a look, a block, a cover, and now down to turn 3. Maverick Davis right on the bumper of Matthew Boniface, but no contact. We'll have 8 laps to go.
He's just going to try to stay with Boniface going through these corners. 8 laps to go. That's not too much time to make a move.
Oh, contact there.
He's hitting him right there on exit. That's going to cut his momentum. If you want to do that bump and run, you got to take care of it on entry. But Herzing and Sellers are starting to roll back in and take advantage of what's going on in front of them.
Yeah, Davis got to him in the center of the corner, and at that point, that's only giving the 95 a boost. That's helping him get out of the corner while it's slowing down the 113. So Maverick Davis, if he's going to get there, if he's going to lean on the bumper, he's going to do it a whole lot sooner in the corner. You're right. 7 to go. And there's your top 4 as Herzing falls back just a smidge. 5th place is John Barry. He's got company with Jesse Fox in the 6th spot. Then Martin, Fish, Schweizer, and Matherly, the top 10.
I think if you are Maverick Davis, you know that Matthew Boniface is going to roll into these corners so much better. The only way you're going to be able to actually get up there to get to him is if you get a caution. So you can reset, restack him, and re-rack him. Yeah, Boniface is just driving away right now. He's opened up to almost half a second over Maverick Davis, who is now just trying to defend against Brandon Herzing, and Sellers just sitting back there waiting for something to happen as well.
96 closing in for second, 5 laps to go, and oh, Davis in the wall hard, and that's going to open up the door. Here comes the 96 of Herzing for second, up the racetrack a bit, nearly made contact, and thankfully they don't, but here comes Sellers as Davis falls back one more.
That is going to hurt him dearly, just a little too hard.
Oh!
Contact!
Sellers up the racetrack and in the outside fence.
And Sellers, listening to the communication, was not happy there with Davis as he toes to the pit lane.
I'll be honest, I can't imagine why he'd be upset with him. We'll see on the replay here. I can't see where there's any foul play from Maverick Davis.
Davis just enters the corner, and maybe a little pinch, maybe a little bit of netcode as well, as that car just shot up in the air.
There's a little bit of netcode between these two. Even if there wasn't, Maverick Davis has nothing wrong here. He's allowed to go down on the door and try and defend this spot. Unfortunate for Sellers for sure, but Maverick Davis does nothing wrong. And I'm trying to find a way to show this bit of netcode. But iRacing basically simulated they made wheel contact. They didn't visually. This might show it. Here we go. This might give us a decent look, and you can see there's just a bit of space there. Netcode, and there around goes the 97 car.
It's just no contact, really. It just netcode. And you can say that maybe Davis was coming down the racetrack a little bit, but he has the right to be able to defend his spot. I know a lot of us race car drivers don't like it when we get pinched, and it makes it a little difficult for us to actually try to be able to do something with the car, but everybody has the right to be able to race their line and defend, and that sets us up for, I believe, we're going to have a green-white checkered here.
We'll have one attempt, and we saw this back at South Boston, where we got one attempt at extending the race, and then it finished under yellow. And we gave the win to Matthew Boniface by default because, unfortunately, we just could not get green flag laps in that night. That was a long night of racing. It set an interesting tone for the season. I think at first that it was going to be drive to survive kind of deal, and you've just got to get through these races full attrition. But since then, the racing has really cleaned up, and these guys have really become a premier legend racing series on iRacing.com. We still have 3 laps to go. In fact, this is lap 30. So this was the previously scheduled final lap of the race, Zach. And I think that begs the question, what does Maverick Davis do into turn 1 on this restart?
Well, if he's anything like Kyle Busch, he's thinking, well, Boniface should have probably won by now. But I think the big thing for Maverick Davis is to just get his head down, get his head on straight. He's got a little bit of right side damage from that wall contact. Shouldn't be anything to affect pace, but it's just you got to get that mental aspect out of your head and be able to focus on what's going on in front of you. And actually, that begs the question, Andrew, who do you have here? You have Maverick Davis sitting in third. He's been running up in the second position most of the day, actually leading laps as well as Matthew Boniface, but Brandon Herzing has been sitting around. He's been sitting behind these guys, still fast, still staying with them, and just being able to contend. So who do you think is going to actually be able to walk away with this?
Easy pick is Boniface, but I'm going to be honest, on Maverick Davis here, this might be where I finally use the bumper. They've been so clean, and we saw some contact back at Lanier. Boniface is far and away the points leader. Won't lose it tonight. Give him a shot down in turn 1. Move him, try and get this race win. That's what it's all about. As we go green, 1 green-white checkered attempt, and on down to turn 1. Davis to the inside, he's going to turn. Oh, move the 95, but he hangs on. That is how you move somebody cleanly, but give them a chance to gather back up. Wow.
And that sent Brandon Herzing wide. He's back in the third position. And
Not
Davis
done.
Is going for the bumper.
A little bit of contact there out of 4. White flag, 1 to go. Presented by Whiplash Simcams.
If you're going to be making this move, you got to make it as soon as you possibly can. And he is on that bumper.
Oh, he gets Boniface right there. Up the racetrack, they both go. Boniface still has it. Here comes Herzing on the bottom of the 96. A block there from the 95. Herzing runs in deep. He's going to move him. And a drag race on a turn 4. Davis spins, and Brandon Herzing is finally going to win in the HFL Legends Series this season. Wow.
What a thriller.
The series president just used the bumper to go on through, and I love it. That is short track racing. I know that won't be popular from the Boniface camp, and that's okay. That's how racing goes sometimes. But that level of excitement, that level of respect between these guys, that was beautiful.
And you had Maverick Davis, go from, second position down to third. And then
finished 11th.
He spun off of turn 4 after, I believe he tapped the apron or something. That's just short track racing as well. You can go from front of the field to back of the field, just kind of like a super speedway, only different result to get there, really.
Well, there's the 96 of Brandon Herzing. And again, I mean, I absolutely can imagine how the 95 camp would be gutted out of that, would be a little upset maybe. And they have all right to be, but that is just classic short track racing between these guys. A couple of bumpers thrown there on the restart, and now there goes the 96 to do some burnouts on the front stretch. Well deserved.
Definitely right place, right time, too. This is what we were talking about on the restart, Andrew, who you had. And like we said, Brandon Herzing had been sitting around waiting for something to happen, and ultimately the contact up front led to him being able to take advantage of what happened in front, and well, it just ultimately resulted in him going to victory lane tonight.
I even almost got choked up on that finish out of turn 4, but let's go back and see if we can find what happened. Well, that is the checkers. And Boniface does still go second, so he still gets a pretty solid result out of all of this. But let's go all the way back to the restart here and watch this first from the perspective of Matthew Boniface out of turn 1. This is where the green flag flew, and there's Davis. And watch this. Davis tries to go to the inside, tags him, lets him save it into turn 1. Herzing goes way up the racetrack, and at this point, Zach, you got to think he's out of it.
Yeah, that's honestly what was going through my head at that point. I thought he was just clearing out of it. It was going to be between Davis and Boniface. You can see them going into 3. Davis is just all over that bumper, and going into turn 1 and 2 is really where things kind of lit up. You got the white flag right here, presented by Whiplash Simcams, and then into 1, you can see Boniface took that wide entry,
right there,
taken all night, and then there's the contact. Up the racetrack goes Davis. He gathers it up. Boniface has the run cut off. He's just trying to defend at this point, and Herzing just sends it into the corner. Use that old summer shootout bump and run, and then Davis trying to send Herzing as well, and well, ultimately he hit the apron, and that's what cost him there. He got hooked.
Then the 20 and 113 hooked bumpers, and Jesse Fox went from finishing 3rd potentially to finishing 13th. dead last on the lead lap. Let's take a look from his perspective.
There is a contact between the two leaders. You can see Herzing going all the way to the bottom. Boniface defending. There's the entry into 3. Davis takes the wide arc to try and get a run. Flips the apron. Tries to stay in it, but ultimately that is what cost him. And then Jesse Fox nowhere to go.
Fox got spun into the inside wall, and here comes the 61 to go by, and just was not able to get back to the start-finish line before everybody else did. Let's take a look here from the perspective of Herzing, and there's a lot to talk about, I think, on this last lap. Zach obviously was third, watching these guys kind of figure things out, and takes advantage of the contact, obviously, out of turn 2. Let's watch that first and talk about exactly why he used the bumper in turn 3.
And there's the bump there in 2. Boniface got loose, and Davis goes up the racetrack, and this is where you see he's got nowhere else to go. He wants that win, so he goes, you know what, I'm going to move you. And just a clean pass. He got on the bumper, and Boniface went up the racetrack. Didn't spin him, but got him loose enough to where he was going to have to wash it up the racetrack.
I think it would be fair to say that out of all of this, if Herzing doesn't use the bumper on Boniface, Davis is going to use the bumper on Herzing. He's going to pull down and try and get to him in the center of the corner like he almost did anyways. And with the block from the 95, that opens the door, I think, to be hitting the bumper and moved up out of the way for the race win, especially the final lap. Throw a block that far to the back straightaway. That's just Legends racing. That is how it goes. And we don't usually see the bumper thrown on iRacing, I'll be honest. I'm kind of glad we saw it tonight. That's rare form, and boy, is it exciting.
Yeah, and honestly, building on your point with Davis using the bumper on Herzing, we've all heard the age-old tactic of don't push the pusher on the super speedways, but when it comes to the short tracks and you're just rolling through these corners, when it comes to pushing the pusher, sometimes it can end up in a wreck, and other times you're just going to end up having the little swinging pendulum like we see in science class. The momentum pushes through the car in front, and ultimately the one who's on the receiving end is they're going to be the ones who's taking the brunt force of the blow.
Let's take a look at our race results this evening before we talk to our couple of top finishers. Brandon Herzing walks away with 1 lap led in overtime here in the HFL Legends Series and wins. Matthew Boniface goes second, then John Barry, Mike Matherly, and Fish are top 5. And Zach, the rest of the top 10, a very different order than I would have expected earlier in the day, with Martin so fast in practice and Riley Mason well further down the order in practice.
Yeah, Timmy Martin finishing in the 6th position, and I just want to build on this one thing real quick. Fish, who spun lap 1, got caught up in that wreck, had to use his fast repair, comes back for a top 5 finish. That is another thing about short track racing. You can just be out of it. You think you don't have enough to contend, and then all of a sudden, boom, right there at the end, something happens. You're up in the top 5. But Timmy Martin, Kirk Schweizer, 6th and 7th. Holmberg, who had problems early on in the race, still recovers for a top 10 finish. And then, you've got Riley and Herschel Lawrence here in the 9th and 10th position, and then the rest of the field. Maverick Davis obviously having that issue there at the end by spinning on the apron in turn 4. Douglas Fisher and Jesse Fox, who also got caught up in that last lap incident there. Eric Sellers, who wrecked out in that late race incident with Maverick Davis, and Dakota Burrow, who is our only driver who did not finish, even the last half of the race. Or actually, I don't believe
didn't even start the race. Yeah,
I was about to say, what am I on right now? He didn't even start the race.
Well, Brandon Herzing finally puts the 96 in victory lane. Let's bring him in and talk to him for the first time as a winner this season. Brandon, you finally get it done. You've joined us in the booth before. You've been trying to kind of lead this Legends series in a great direction, and you have done so. But finally, you decided, let's take the series hat off. Let's put the driver cap on, and you sent the 95 for a win.
Oh, yeah. I'm not even denying it. Him and I were actually just joking with each other in the waiting booth for you guys. He's like, I would do the same thing. It's just racing. Those two got into each other, and honestly, I took advantage.
Well, that's what this is all about. That's classic short track racing. But, we talked about it with the block down the back straightaway. That kind of opens the door almost to be assumed that you'll get a little bit of contact, and you just gave Matthew a little bit more than he could handle. Is that about right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. In fact, I said that right after the checkered flag. I told him, like, hey, look, you were blocking down the backstretch, so, I mean, it is what it is.
And how about those first couple of corners, actually, off of the restart, the green-white checkered, Davis and Boniface kind of all over the place?
Yeah, and it's funny because I actually had Jed Cotterman. He was watching my live stream because he had to work today, unfortunately. And I told him, like, look, I'm going to get in third, and I'm just going to sit back a little bit because I have a feeling those two are going to get into each other, and I'm glad I did.
Well, all that effort, it ends up in victory this evening, and it might be a little bit late to shift the tides and get this championship. We'll kind of nickel and dime, work on the points, and see where everybody sits out. But 3 rounds to go. One of them not even determined yet of where you guys are racing. How do you feel?
I feel pretty good. It's been a good season. It's been really, the participation's been really high. I think we had like 15, I'm not mistaken, in that race. So hopefully we keep that up and go into that surprise last race.
There you go. Brandon Herzing, at least, putting up a fight here for the championship. Might be a few points too far back, but we'll see as we've got 3 rounds to go. Brandon, congratulations.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Meanwhile, that puts Matthew Boniface then in the second spot. Here's Zach. Really good racing. He comes up on the, I guess, worst side of things.
Yeah, Matthew Boniface led over half the race. Was one of the dominant cars of the night, and ultimately it just didn't fall in his favor. Matthew, just kind of tell us how, really what was going through your head that last restart. You had Maverick Davis trying to push you and be able to get that position away, and then you had Herzing behind you and was able to get that spot. Just kind of tell us what was going through your head that entire last restart.
So I was just trying to make sure that Maverick didn't get by me, and I was just blocking him, trying not to let him by, and then Brandon came, and I had to try blocking him, and I got bumped, but I was gonna get bumped, and it was P2 is still good.
Obviously, P2 still a great result after leading all these laps today. You're still well controlled in the championship fight. I don't think Herzing is going to close too much on you, especially with you finishing 1 spot behind. Just kind of tell us how you feel really going into Lime Rock next week, the lone road course of the season, and just it could be maybe a great equalizer. You've still won majority of the races this season aside from this 2, especially with this one tonight, but just kind of tell us how everything's going for maybe next week at Lime Rock.
I'm excited for Lime Rock. It's gonna be, I don't know how good I am at road courses, and I don't know if I'm gonna win that one. But I'm excited.
Well, definitely still a good buffer down to second place, so even if you don't decide to come away with a win next week at Lime Rock Park, you've still got a great buffer in the championship and P2 obviously tonight. So great job tonight, Matthew, and we're really looking forward to seeing you run next week as well.
Thank you.
Well, Andrew, that is our second place finisher tonight, Matthew Boniface, and third place finisher, I'm just going to hand it right over to you here with John Barry.
John Barry finishes third place tonight. We haven't talked to this guy at all yet this season, but puts the number 14 car presented by Southington Tool Manufacturing in the third spot. John, finally a podium here for you. A lot of points as well.
Yeah, no, that was a fun race. It was a fun track to run. I'm real happy with that finish.
And this is definitely, I think, the largest track we'll see Legend cars on, aside from maybe Iowa, if we ever ran the full track there. What is it like going from some of the bull rings we've seen this season to like the Daytona for Legend car racing here tonight?
I don't know if it was a setup for the cars tonight, but it was real smooth. Like, everything was good handling wise. It was a fun, easy race.
And a road course next week at Lime Rock Park, the only one of the season. How do you guys feel, you and Timmy?
We're not too confident. Just hoping to be there in the end maybe on a lead lap.
Well, there you go. That's certainly not a bad way to look at a road course race when you're predominantly oval driver. I remember those days before I got into GT racing. So that's a great outlook. John, congratulations on a top 3. Hopefully we're talking to you again next week. You never know what can happen on a road course. We've seen some crazy ones before. So John, once again, congratulations, and we'll see you next week.
All right, thank you very much, and big shout out to Southington Tool.
Southington Tool Manufacturing sponsor on the 14 car. You can see it there on the rear panel of that number 14. And I've had kind of limited interactions with Timmy Martin and John Barry especially. But I will say I like what these guys are doing. They have the team paints coordinated and everything, and I really appreciate the, of course, we at the series really appreciate the effort from Lakeland Tool Manufacturing, a big-time partner of this series, along with Admin Box. Zach, final thoughts here. Round 7 in the books, and a new winner. Finally, we have a third winner in 7 races.
Yeah, just amazing to see how the racing went tonight, really. It seemed to be just a 2-horse race between Maverick Davis and Matthew Boniface, and the late race cautions played a factor and was able to promote Brandon Herzing to a win. And, you know, I'm just excited to see what's going on for next week. I hope I'm able to come back in the booth next week for Lime Rock Park. It's a favorite road course of mine on the service, and I've never seen it run in a legend car. And, you know, if I can't come back in the box next week, Andrew, maybe we can do a little in-race reporter, and maybe I'll be able to step in and run a race. It's always great to see just people just trying to take legend cars, especially on the sim, just short track cars, and throw them on the tracks they don't conventionally run and make things just so amazing, especially tonight too. USA is not a track that legend cars run predominantly, and we still had a great race tonight.
And to be clear, legend cars do run on road courses all the time. Just I don't think I've ever seen them run at Lime Rock Park. That is a bit different. And it's going to be an interesting race. It's one of the shorter road courses that you see on the IMSA schedule, for example, or Trans Am or anything. Grid Life went there last year for the first time. It's definitely an interesting road course, and we'll see how that kind of shakes out. But let's talk about our upcoming broadcast here at Pit Stop TV. After 33 laps of racing tonight at USA, we've got 2 broadcasts in the next, 5 days from Las Vegas Motor Speedway, so we are largely headed out west, but we do still have a short track Saturday night there for the AIRL Martin PC Late Model Showdown from South Boston. But on either side of it, Zach, we've got the UFL Elite Series tomorrow night, 9 Eastern from Las Vegas Motor Speedway on March 1st. Then Sunday, March the 5th, we've got some more racing with Cup cars right back at Las Vegas for the Shake and Bake Racing Butt Kicker Cup Series. And that combo, it's going to be interesting to see how things go. Obviously, a kind of a preview on Wednesday of what the Cup Series will look like, and I guess you could say an encore on Sunday night.
Absolutely, and there's so many places to follow along: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and we are also on Twitch as well. Same username as we are on Instagram that we are on Twitch. So many different places to follow along, and obviously you should be able to keep track of what's going on with our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, because I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, we should have points within the next few days towards the end of the week as the season comes to an end. We get ready to start week 13 to figure out what's going on with the Pain Belt Legends and see who is our actual champion. And as we saw the points earlier, I do believe Parker Retzlaff is going to walk away with it, and so many other good broadcasts throughout the week as well to check on.
Yes, stay tuned for all those points updates. That will do it for us this evening from USA International Speedway, though. A big thank you to Zach Murders joining me in the booth for this one. Hopefully for many more down the road. That will do it from USA. A big thank you to our partners with this series from the HFL Legends Series, Admin Box and Salington Tool Manufacturing, and of course here at the channel, Whiplash Media Simcams, SimRapMarket.com, and Short Track Weekly. Congratulations to Brandon Herzing taking the win this evening at USA, finally giving us a new winner as well. And now all eyes are on Matthew Boniface if he can make it win number 6 next week in week number 8. We'll have to see at Lime Rock Park. Join us there Tuesday, 8 Eastern, next week for Lime Rock.